So when you hear the name Cirque du Soleil, what comes to mind? Probably these breathtaking acrobatics, right? These surreal, dreamlike worlds. But the real story here, the one we're going to get into, isn't just about what happens on stage. It's actually a wild business story about how a small group of street performers completely tore down and rebuilt a 200-year-old industry. I mean, for generations, the circus was predictable. You knew what you were getting. It was that smell of popcorn, the roar of a lion from a cage, the ringmaster in a top hat shouting under the big top. And really, it was for families and kids. A classic for sure, but an unchanging one. And then, all of a sudden, this happened. The circus became this high art, theatrical experience. The sawdust got swapped for surrealism, and the audience, well, it changed completely. So you gotta ask, right? How on earth did a centuries-old formula get totally reinvented by a bunch of outsiders? Okay, to really understand this revolution, you have to start with the core idea. The vision for Cirque du Soleil wasn't just to be a better circus. No, it was to be a fundamentally different kind of entertainment altogether. And this, right here, is where the genius is. Think about it. Traditional circuses were all fighting over who had the best clowns or the most exotic animal acts. Cirque du Soleil just eliminated them. Gone. Instead, they focused on telling a story, like a play. They swapped the family and kids crowd for adults, for theatergoers. They weren't trying to steal customers from other circuses. They were creating a whole new market that didn't even know it was looking for a circus. So where did such a game-changing idea come from? You might think some fancy corporate boardroom, but nope. It all started on the streets of a little village in Canada. It all kicked off with a group of street performers, one of whom was a fire breather named Guy Laliberté. Now, this guy had some serious charisma because in 1984, he talked the government into giving them a $1.3 million grant. And that seed money launched a company of just 73 people. Get this. Within 8 years, they were so successful they didn't need public money anymore. And today, it's a global empire. Now, that kind of growth doesn't just happen by accident. It was the result of a brilliant business strategy, the kind of thing they literally teach in business schools now. It's a strategy called high-end market disruption. And what that really means is instead of fighting tooth and nail with Ringling Brothers for the same audience, Cirque just created something totally new, something premium. They basically made the old competition irrelevant because they just weren't playing the same game anymore. They created their own league. And this is the key. Their audience wasn't choosing between Cirque du Soleil and a traditional circus. No way. They were choosing between Cirque du Soleil, a Broadway show, or the opera. And by positioning themselves as high art, they could charge a much higher price for a ticket. That money is what fueled their incredible productions and their massive growth. But look, a killer strategy is only half the story. You need the right people to actually pull it off. And Cirque's internal culture was every bit as unique as its performances. Just listen to their mission statement. It's not about maximizing profits or shareholder value. It's about art. Invoke, provoke, and evoke. Those 3 words were the guide for every creative decision they made. It was always about creating a powerful emotional ride for the audience. This quote really nails their whole vibe. The company built this belief that any artistic vision, no matter how wild or crazy, could be done. That's the kind of thinking that lets you build a $200 million stage that can rotate 360 degrees. But that insane ambition was balanced by this incredible culture of care. The leadership was known for being almost like family. For artists from tiny villages, they'd bring along a friend or family member just to help them adjust. They gave them language classes, medical care, all of it. They wanted to create a global citizen feel. And with performers from over 40 countries, this wasn't just a nice thing to do. It was essential. You need that deep trust for the kind of high-risk stuff they do every night. So Cirque created its own market and completely owned it. But you know how it goes in entertainment, success always paints a target on your back. And I mean, just look at their dominance by 2013. We're talking nearly $240 million in sales. That's almost 3 times as much as their closest competitor, Feld Entertainment, the company that owned Ringling Brothers. They weren't just winning the game, they were in a different league entirely. But here's the crazy twist. Their biggest competitors weren't the old circuses. They were the people who learned the secret recipe from the inside. Creative geniuses like Franco Dragone, who directed some of Cirque's most iconic shows, left to start their own companies. They created a whole new wave of competition in the very market that Cirque invented. Now, let's zoom out for a second. As huge as Cirque is, look at this number, $5.38 billion. That was the revenue in 2013 for Live Nation Entertainment, a huge ticket seller and concert promoter. And that really puts things in perspective. While Cirque du Soleil totally reinvented the circus, there's still just one option in this massive world of entertainment. They're not just competing with other shows, they're competing with movies, sports, video games, anything that wants your attention and your money. Which brings us to this final question. Cirque du Soleil proved that a small group of artists could change the entire world of entertainment. The question now is, as this massive global corporation, how do you protect that original culture of creativity and care that made you special in the first place? How does the fire breather's dream survive inside the global empire?